بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
The Pythagoreans worked out that music is related to geometry. And in classical Western tradition, you had what was called the quadrivium, and so you studied arithmetic first, which is number, discrete number, arithmetic, 1, 2, 3, 4. And obviously not simple arithmetic, but the meaning of numbers. Because numbers are related, all numbers are multiples of 1. Everything comes from 1. And then you went into geometry, which was number in space. And then you went into music, which was number in time and space. And then you went into astronomy, which music, which is number in time. And then you went to astronomy, which is number in time and space. So there was a cosmology to the quadrivium. And these are related to cosmologies. Now, different maqamat affect different parts of your soul. And this is why the prohibitions of music are there, because music is very, very dangerous, and a lot of people don't know what they're doing with the music. And if you don't believe this, all you have to do is look at some documentary footage of what was called Beatlemania in the West, and how mad people went over new sounds of music that were being popularized and promoted over the airways. And rock and roll had a massive impact on people. And as it got darker and darker, and you went into these heavy metal and all these other types of, you get some really, really serious problems at these concerts where people literally will go mad. I mean, obviously there's drug involvement, and this is another reason, because you'll find many of the hadith that talk about the prohibition of music also have drugs mentioned in the same hadith. In fact, there's an argument that all of them have drugs mentioned in the same hadith. And the Prophet ﷺ said the end of time won't come until people permit. And then he said, music, basically the sex, because that's the word he used meant that. And then drugs, intoxicants. So he actually mentioned those three together, right? Which in Western parlance is sex, drugs, and rock and roll, which became a kind of mantra of the 1960s, and we're still feeling the repercussions of that in the West since that time, which was a massive change. And Plato argued that you will never change musical modes in a society except that it will have a radical effect on the culture and nature of the society. So musical changes actually are harbingers of shifts within society. And so this is called ethos theory in the Greek tradition, that music has a powerful impact on the soul. Rumi in the Masnawi, rahimahullah, talks about the soul being really almost seduced into the body with the flute, the reed flute. And that's an indication, a mythological indication of the power that music has. And he talks about the morose sounds of the reed flute and the impact that they have on the heart. So music is very powerful, and it's really not something to be played with, because people don't know what they're doing. And in traditional, like if you go into traditional, like ragas in Indian music, they have a whole science, and they know that they're having an impact on people. Al-Farabi wrote a book called Kitab al-Musiq al-Kabir, and in that book he gives you the maqamat to use that where you can make people laugh. If you play the maqams, they'll start laughing uncontrollably. You can play other maqams and they'll start crying. And so this is the power that exists in this form. So what you have to understand is that the religion does not have a blanket permissibility, and it doesn't have a blanket prohibition, but it has a dialectic of tension to make sure that we don't go astray in either way. And so, for instance, what we just heard, which is sama', you can, if you're present, if your heart's open to it, it can actually have a very powerful spiritual impact on you. I mean, they can put you into a state of hudur, of presence with your Lord. And this can happen. And obviously, the Quran does this as well for people. And I don't want to put them in the same category, because they're not. إِذَا جَاءَ الْحَقِّ زَهِقَ الْبَاطِلِ. Everything other than the Quran, in terms of this, has a vacuity to it. But the meanings also are embodied in these words. The things that they're saying, are very powerful things. Imam al-Busayri, they were just reciting very powerful meanings from Imam al-Busayri.